Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, where we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And for those who are interested, I can finally wiggle my big toe from my surgery. So I had a nerve blocker, and it's taken me like 3.5 days to be able to wiggle my big toe. And I'm working on the other little piggies. And yes, I am channeling my Uma Thurman, getting it done here. And after I'm done here, I may go kill a guy named Bill. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Pat Chan. So welcome back to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I am always happy to have you on my show. It's always interesting. We always get into some fun stuff. I have something at the end that we're going to play that's going to be fun. And I'm going to put you into a weird position because you're going to have a difficult choice to make. Okay. But we're here to talk about your Kickstarter, Steamy. And for those who don't know, I think it's being launched next week.
It's going Monday. It was originally supposed to go today because I started to print out of Canada and I got shipments coming from my previous book, Cheeky, early. But it ended up being a week less early than I pictured it. So I'm still shipping right now. In fact, I have a bunch of labels right here that you guys can't see because you can't dox my backers, you know. And then Monday, Steamy launches 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a collection of not safe for work stories that continues our adult line, Thirsty, Cheeky, Steamy. And these stories overlap and connect in emotional, funny, and exciting ways.
Yeah, so let's get into that a little bit, because obviously I don't think they're a direct sequel to, Cheeky or Thirsty, but they're in that vein. I don't know. I mean, are they standalone, or do they all connect, or do they all just connect within each of the book?
They're standalone, but some characters carry over. There are 3 characters who started in Thirsty, who you'll see again in Steamy, 2 who made a brief appearance in Cheeky, and so on.
Yeah, and so it's very interesting because obviously somebody could just come in and say, "Hey, I don't know anything about this, but I'm looking for this genre." Yeah. And can pick up Steamy, say, "Hey, I don't really know much about this, and I just want to test it," and they're not going to get lost. And also, each of these stories, I think that you said there were 5. And so what is this like? Because it's really interesting to write 5 different stories. They're connected to each other, but they also all have their own identity. Because I think that's an art that's lost in storytelling in many ways.
Yeah, we picture it as sort of like Crash, but with sex, where the arcs of the characters are all independent, but then they're all overlap in ways that you might not expect. Like, for example, in Thirsty, the first story was this girl who she has a car that has an app built into the system that her ex builds, and the app reads the phone history of its clients and sort of gives them sex therapy and suggestions for their sex lives based on their phone history search. And then throughout the book, the various stories all play out, and then the final story goes back to the car, and you see all the characters from previous stories get in the car and have their ride, and it all connects in that way. And then Cheeky, all the characters move toward this big booty contest, and they all meet there, and they compete, and they overlap there, even though their stories are all separate. So yeah, Amy and I have been creating them as solo stories, and then sort of later on envisioning how they tie together.
Yeah, and then let's even go further into that too, because obviously, I mean, this is, I think, what is known as a graphic novel. It's not necessarily a comic where it's not a single issue, but it's, pretty substantial. And I don't know the average page length for each of these books, but even going into that, you're giving somebody a lot of content, but that doesn't mean later on you couldn't break it down as one shots or a single floppy issues and really kind of spin off. Or if one of these stories really just takes off and you get really positive feedback, obviously it could launch another series, it could launch its own continuum. And so what is this like? Because it's very cool what you're doing, where I know this is a single book. Cheeky did very well, over 100,000. And then on top of that, I mean, what is that like? Because it is something that obviously this is going to be a successful Kickstarter. You're going to do at least 30,000, if not more.
I'm going to do a lot more than 30,000. Yeah.
I'd be conservative. I always am conservative on numbers, just to throw it out there, because I would rather underestimate, over deliver,
Yeah.
than over deliver and
Oh, for sure.
underestimate.
Yeah. If 30,000 is conservative for this campaign, I'd say that's far right. But this is gonna be is a lot more than that, because this is it's the finale in the same line. It's thirsty, cheeky, and steamy. And it is going to see a lot of people who want to get the whole series. Some people just trying out Steamy. We have covers by some great artists like Jen St. Ange, Stepan Sejic, lyrics. It's gonna be awesome. And to answer the question about how the different stories can go, we will eventually do single issues. I'm already talking to a publisher, and we have a deal to break it down eventually and re-release it in single issue form. I just really want to make sure that we focus on the graphic novels first and make those as great as they can be. So the people who get those have the best experience possible. And then later on, we'll figure out how to break it down for the direct market. And for spinoffs that you mentioned, we already have one in mind. We're going to spin off a character from Thirsty who has appeared in Cheeky and Steamy as well. Her name is Pen. She is an OnlyFans model. So we're going to have a book called Only Friends with Pen that's going to be out in single issues. And it's going to be a sort of sexy rom-com that, like Thirsty, Cheeky, and Steamy, our goal has always been with these books to not only tell adult stories, but to make them character-based. You see this in books like Smut Peddler, in Sunstone, in Sugar from Top Cow. These books that focus on character first and treat stories about sex and love the same way that the industry treats stories about horror, drama, all these genres that are so accepted.
Yeah,
we
let's
wanted to
actually
bring
talk
that same
about
character focus to this genre.
Let's actually talk about this, because this is really interesting, because obviously Steven Stepchick, I think is his name, was Sunstone.
Yeah.
And I know he did a cover, which I'm going to show in a second here. One of the things that's lacking, I feel, in comics is having, talking about sex, having a good time with it, telling a good story. The last good story I read was Betty's Boop. And I think Boom put that out. And that was a fun, thing about a woman who basically comes to find out the best day that basically she gets, her breast removed due to breast cancer is the best day of her life. And all this amazing stuff starts happening within like a week of it happening. And it's a great story. And it's got, obviously some fun, tones to it. And she meets a bunch of accepting people. We're all different. Great, great, great story. The point is that I don't see a lot of that, and it's missing in the market. And I'm very curious as to why you think that is missing in the market. Do you think it's a lack of skill as writing goes? Do you think that it's a lack of art? Do you think that writers and artists are terrified to touch this topic? Do you think that maybe they're terrified because, like, how is this going to affect my career? Or how is it going to affect me working for a company like Image or Marvel or DC? Or do you just think that people just say, look, I want to write what I know, and I don't know this sector?
There's a lot of options there. Getting some multiple choice action. I'm
curious because I don't know the answer to this, because I have my own thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also not in this space. You don't hear me professing about how to write a comic book when I'm more of a financial investing guy.
It's a mix. It's definitely that people are scared. It's that people also look down on books like this. It's been very strange for the past, it's lightened up. I'd say mid 2000s, we saw a huge push in the comics community, and this huge puritanical push in the left that is actually very illiberal. It's not a liberal position at all to be anti-sex, to not be sex positive. So we're kind of seeing that lighten up. We're seeing pushback to the idea that depicting sex and telling stories about sex has to be exploitative, and sort of dissecting the idea of how to tell these stories and how to embrace that part of life. Because in comics, right, comics is so genre focused, and by genre I really just mean sci-fi, superhero, fantasy, these genres that have for a long time been niche, less fantasy now. These niche genres really run rampant in the industry because the industry itself was niche. But if you look at other publishing industries, prose. What's most popular? Romance. What happens in romance books? Sex. A lot of it. Written largely for women. And then in the comics industry, you have these men who believe that they're standing up for women's rights, scolding people for writing books about sex. So people are scared because they don't want to be scolded. But really, these are books about love and sex are far more universal than books about murdering people, books about putting on costumes and punching people in the face. So why is this so strange? You know, why is it so odd? Why is it looked down upon to write a book about sex? That's something that I've always wondered, and something that I've been critiqued about even before all this. For my work at Zenescope, people assume that Zenescope is erotica when really Zenescope is a dark fantasy that uses a sexualized image on a cover for convention exclusives and for web store exclusives, and they're pinup covers, you know.
And
But
it's good for business. I mean, let's be
of
realistic.
course, of
I
course,
mean,
yeah,
at the end of the day, and I got no problem saying this, is that sometimes you have to do things that are good for business. People criticize Logan Paul and WWE, and this relates to the promise. Logan Paul is good for business because he draws eyes to the product. Whether he's a good wrestler or not doesn't matter. And I find with Zenescope, if you put, Sun Kumanaki on a cover, it's going to sell and it's going to move that book and it's going to get people to say, cool, I like Sun Kumanaki's artwork. Let me go check out what Zenescope's doing with her. But
yeah, not, and plus it's not, I mean, neither of those things should be seen as bad things. A business trying to make money, not a bad thing. Look, I mean, Logan Paul, for example, I don't care about wrestling in any way, but did I watch the Logan Paul video to see how he did, to see that crazy move he did where he like jumps in midair? I thought the shit was crazy. I thought it was really cool. And yeah, I don't understand. I never understood why that was looked down upon, why it was always dismissed. So my thought was, and I told the story before, so I'm not sure if I've told it on this platform, but when people would assume that I was writing erotica for Zenescope and dismiss me whole cloth as a writer, what I thought was this. I thought, all right, so guess what? I'm going to write erotica now, and it's going to be better than anything that you could ever write. And that was Thirsty that I did with Amy, Cheeky, and now Steamy. And I mean, I'm good to keep doing this. You know, I enjoy stories about love and sex. I think that these are far more human elements than a lot of the tropes that we really dig into in comics. And that's what I've always wanted to explore, is the human element of life, to get into what it means to be a person in comics. And part of being a person is love and sex.
yeah, and did you also feel that, and this is just my thoughts, that maybe people don't want to write about their feelings and write about life? I mean, I'm a huge dirty realism fan. People like, John Fontaine and Bukowski and Raymond Carver. And a lot of that stuff, obviously, given our society today, I don't know how well that stands up. But when that stuff was coming out, Bukowski was writing about drinking, sex, gambling, and, just his experiences as life in a semi-fictional character, but based on really a lot of his life. And Raymond Carver has a book, I believe, What Do We Talk About When We Talk About Love? And it's a great question. And so, I mean, I just think that a lot of people also don't want to talk about their feelings.
That's probably true. I mean, people also, we've seen a lot of safe stories. I feel like people are scared of trying things out in stories. I think they're very attuned to the climate and they don't want to get in trouble. So I think that people are very careful these days, and careful art isn't art that will last. I have no interest in being careful. I want to tell messy stories about messy people who are trying to find themselves.
So let me ask you this. So I feel, and then I'll preface myself, where obviously I had Bella Rockefeller on, I had Bella Madison on, and those are two women who obviously have ties to the adult industry. I've had a few others on. I've been doing this for almost 9-10 years. I feel that I'm in a safe place to do an interview like that. In year one of my show, I did not feel safe. And so I guess my question is rooted is that, if you're a first time creator, or even in year one of creating comics, I mean, the whole thing is that I think some of these creators are also saying, do I feel safe enough? Because I think in year one or year two, you're very vulnerable. You've been around for I can't speak to it, for a while. And you've done a lot of things with IDW. You've done some stuff with Big Dog Inc. You obviously have other things that I can't mention that you're working on, but you've also done a lot of work for Zenescope, and you've also proven with spaces in between entertainment that you can do your own thing, your own create your own stuff. So do you feel that that's also part of it? Is that maybe you have to get to a point where you can be safe enough that you can't be canceled, or it's harder to challenge because you have a little bit more standing?
I would say yes, but I could definitely be canceled for it. You know, I could definitely be targeted for it. I mean, for example, I can't get much into this, but you know, I do other work, and when other work is looked into by larger media, I get questions about my adult stuff. So I'm having to eventually move the adult comics to a different imprint under my company that's run by an editor who I brought on for that specific purpose. So he'll run that entire line. I'll still write it, but people ask about it. They're not used to it, you know. So I had someone ask my Hollywood rep, is it normal for a comics creator to exhibit at Exotica? And the answer is no, it's not, because I tried it. But at the same token, that's what people notice. I've spoken at length that I want to exhibit at pet conventions. I want to exhibit at any convention relevant to what I do. And what I do is far beyond adult stuff. But for some reason, it's this topic that people are very sensitive about.
Yeah, I think it's very complicated. And again, you know, obviously, I mean, if I get a sponsor and I get a big deal, there's no question that they're going to look into who I've had on my show. I've had a huge line of guests, and I have a huge line coming up. And there's a lot of questions. And I'm pretty sure that there are people who have not wanted to come on my show because who's been on my show. And I'm not saying I'm some superstar interviewer, but, you know, I mean, there's been questions by people. I mean, there's been questions, and so it's very interesting. But at the same time, I'm also looking to try to level up. I'm looking to expand what I'm doing, and I want better interviews, to be honest. And I can't just sit here and wait around and be like, well, I can interview a voice actor and I can interview mainstream comics or safe comics. I want to. There's a reason why we're talking about this. You know, I feel very comfortable talking about this topic.
Yeah, I mean,
scared. Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to come, and there's going to be sponsors who are not a fan of it, without a doubt.
No, for a fact. And people will see that you've interviewed guys like Raven Gregory, and they'll just dismiss it, you know.
There's plenty of people. Who will dismiss it. There's plenty of people who have questions. Yeah. I mean, I know everybody who has questions about my show. I know them because I hear things behind walls that I should not hear.
Yeah, I mean,
years around.
People have questions about any platform that gives Raven Gregory the light of day.
But the difference is that Raven is money.
I'm just fucking around, man. Yeah.
No. But you brought up a point. Raven is one of the most entertaining guests ever. And that's the thing. You look at Howard Stern and you look at media. You brought up a great point. I know you were joking, and I love Raven because Raven's always been nice to me. People give shit. Somebody made a comment about Raven on my Instagram when he put it up. And I'm like, but I don't have a bad experience with Raven. I've always been treated nice by Raven. Yeah. I've always been treated nice by you. So my experiences with you, Raven, Joe Brusha, Ralph, have always been good. Now, I've been treated horrible by creators on a bad day, and then I saw them at a con on another day, and they're the nicest human beings.
Yeah.
So it could also be that somebody's having a bad day.
Yeah, that's true. I hear you. And you mentioned Howard Stern. So you would say that, like, Raven is like the Beetlejuice to your show, right?
I would say Raven is an unpredictable, entertaining guest. So I put Raven like Hart Fisher, where anything can happen, but it's interesting and people will watch.
Okay.
Because Raven is fun and enjoyable. Raven's been on 3 times, and I've not had a bad interview with Raven.
Yeah.
I've had a great interview with Raven. The first one was very personal. The second one was a blast. And the third one, I don't even remember it. So
yeah, but he doesn't either.
but people will watch it, and you cannot watch that interview and not be entertained.
For sure, for sure, for sure. He Raven starts off really into it, and then as the podcast goes, the edibles hit, and he just ends up having no memory of any of it.
Yes, and I felt it through. I felt it through.
Yeah,
It's this weird effect, you
yeah,
know.
he's
You
got to
know,
write it out. Yeah,
but yeah, totally. Great comic idea, right in that podcast. Oh, that's such a good idea. But anyway, getting back to you, without a doubt. So, I mean, I just think that I guarantee there are people who do not want to sponsor this show because you're on. Raven's been on. Hart Fisher's been on. Bella Madison, Bella Rockefeller, a bunch of people. And here's what I say to all that. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I want to be here forever. And if the second I start not worrying about the show, and I don't know how you feel about your comics, but I feel like you have to produce a good comic before you have to see how it's going to be reacted to.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to. I can care about that stuff as far as how it appears on social media. I'm fine to clean up my social media because that's not my work. My work is my art is my writing, and I'll never clean up my writing. I will never change what I write about. I will never stop writing exactly what I want to be writing when I'm writing it, no matter what kind of offers I'm given. The only thing I'll do is like I'll write more, you know, I'll take on work for higher gigs. But if there was a company that said, "Oh, if you stop doing X, then we'll really support Y and boost Y," never.
Yeah, I can't live like that either. Where, you know, one of my biggest pet peeves, and there's been a few people who have said, why were you on that person's show? Or why did you have this person on your show? And I said, well, you know, yay, Raven actually said this to me. The second you mortgage your house to pay for your comic or for this comic or for this podcast, you get to have a say in it. And I
Yeah,
think that's something that people don't understand. And it's a pet peeve of mine where I don't want to be told what I can say, how I can say it, who I interview, why I interview.
yeah,
And if there are consequences for that, I will deal with the consequences accordingly. But you cannot give me, actually, that's not true. If somebody was to give me $10 million, you know, my opinion might change. But unless you're giving me a substantial amount of money, you know, and I mean a lot of money that's life changing and generation changing, my opinion is not going to change. And I think that's something that a lot of creators, I think, need to really, really have that drilled into them. I really do, because I think creators can be bought right now. And I think a lot of them have been.
yeah. I think that they can be bought cheaply, and I mean, I get it. You know, I was in a conversation though. You know, you say the $10 million thing joking, but the truth is that I think about it, and I like the idea of uh self belief to the point of idiocy. I was on the phone with my Hollywood rep talking about this potential thing and how the connection to the adult stuff can kind of possibly not
Kill it.
endanger this, but endanger future things. And he asked, "What do you want out of the industry? Do you really want to push to this, or do you want to keep doing what you do?" And I was like, listen, I'm going to keep doing what I do. I want other opportunities, but if the other opportunities don't come, trust me that I'll make them happen anyway. If I can't get a film deal, I'm going to make it myself. And he thought that sounded kind of crazy, but the truth is that if I would have told everyone that I would have made what I did on Cheeky last year, if I would have said that 10 years ago, they would have thought that was crazy too, you know? So I think that sort of belief where you uh, lean into your team and yourself and trust that you're going to make happen what needs to make happen, that is how I choose to create and live.
It's interesting. And I mean, there's certain things that I'm working on and building out that obviously, you know, I believe wholeheartedly. And I've been writing on a bunch of it. And then people gave me a lot of shit for it. And people are coming around. I was a big advocate for smart contracts between artists and across every industry. And people gave me a lot of shit for it. And it's now becoming a bigger and bigger thing. I forget what comic company's trying to do it, but it's a big deal right now. And I think it's going to be the future. And, you know, it's a very important thing because it's a solution to solving a payment process. between parties, and why risk not getting paid or losing your money if you guys can set up a contract that automatic validates when all things are met. And a lot of people, I think are now coming around to my philosophy on that. But it's so interesting, so interesting. But again, I can be bought, but not cheaply is my point. That's all I'm going to say, everybody, on that point. But I do want to get into, actually the covers and some of this stuff, because you got a lot of cool stuff going on. You got this one right here, which is cool.
That's the Jen St. Ange. Jen has done a variant for every single book in the adult line. She did Thirsty, Cheeky, and now Steamy. She is a longtime collaborator of mine. She's done work on Smoke Weeds Through the Future, Prison Witch, Vampire Emmy, Destiny New York. Virtually every title that we have, I think, except Afterglow, I believe that she's worked on. Maybe not Afterglow and Clonsters. I think everything else she's somewhat touched. Incredible talent.
And then didn't she? It's a she, right?
Jen St. Ange, yes, she.
Didn't she also work on, I think, the book Bingo Hole? I want to say with Frank.
Bingo Love with P. Franklin, yeah.
Yes. I just read that. I thought that was a brilliant book in so many ways.
The art's great.
I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was a fun story, and it was definitely a good pickup. It was worth the money I spent. Not every graphic novel is worth the money I spent. It's a shame, but it should be. But anyway, we're gonna get to that, and I'm gonna show an example of that in 1 second. But this is the other one that I think is really cool too.
Yes, the French-made photo shoot variant by Stepan Zijic. Stepan is someone who I've wanted to work with on a Creator-owned thing for a while. He actually drew the cover, the variant cover, I believe. No, the cover A of my first ever Zenescope work. It was the Grim Fairy Tales 2011 Holiday Special. And I was talking to him recently, and I told him how cool it would be to have him on one of these, because I was, for a while, treated to Zijic covers on multiple books: Robin Hood, Godstorm, Grim Fairy Tales. And now that I'm doing my own thing, I missed it. I missed it a lot because he's been doing his own thing to immense success for a long time. So I told him the options. I said, listen, we have Destiny New York, we have Smoke Weeds Through the Future, we have the Thirsty line. What do you want to do? And he mentioned that he wanted to know a bit more about Thirsty. So I told him about the character Pen, who's going to get her own spinoff, and he was intrigued by her. So he put together this little photo shoot cover that I think it's great. It captures the Sunstone vibe. It has that beautiful painterly Zijic look to it that you look at it and you immediately know who it is. And that's so cool for me.
Yeah, so let's even talk about that too, because obviously Sunstone is kind of one of the originals that has set this entire genre off. And Sunstone, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you might know better, Matt Hawkins probably knows better, but it has sold so many copies. Even despite it being, I think, free online, it has sold so many physical copies and digital copies because people are lusting for that content and they're looking to fill that, I guess, fulfillment, that card, that punch card, whatever you want to call it. And so what is that like? Because now that you're in this space and you're helping to fill that gap in comics, you have the guy who kind of was one of the founders of this, one of the pioneers, and it must make you feel very good. And it's kind of like cool, when the student is ready, the master appears.
Yeah, that's true. That's happened to me a few times in my career. If you ask Raven, he would put himself in that story too, in the mentor role. But I mean, dude, like, for example, right now I am working on Terry Moore's Kickstarter. I'm running that with him, and to me, he's the GOAT. He's a legend, and Zijic is also a legend, one of the greatest ever. And to be working with him on the character that Amy and I created, that is incredible. Seeing the art come through. It was one of those things where he agreed to it, and then in my head I was like, all right, I'll believe it's happening when I see the cover. I'm gonna check in here and there, but I was thinking, like, no harm, no foul if he can't do it, because he's also his creator-owned stuff is successful to the point where he never has to do work for hire. So the fact that he wanted to and came through and did was a great moment for me.
Yeah, and it's also nice when it actually happens because you know it and I know it that plenty of people say, "Yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that for you," and then nothing ever occurs, or things happen where there's been plenty of times where somebody I reach out to them and then they get signed to the WWE and like, "Yo, man, I really can't," and then they always send the nice email, and I'm like, "No worries, I get it." Um, but things happen, and then there's been plenty of times I'm like, this is actually really happening in 5 minutes. What the fuck? Like, how the fuck did I get here? And there's been a few of those. And I'm very, very young in this field, and from where I'm at, and so that's just one of those things that is super cool. And then there's some other stuff too that you got this in there. The sweet print, the spicy print is out
Yes.
there.
And this is my first time trying to say this artist's name out loud. I think it's Othalama. This is an artist, absolutely incredible, great sense of character in her work, amazing sort of painterly vibe that kind of does in some ways remind me of Sijic while still being very much her own thing. The similarity is just in how the character comes through in the face and the actions. This artist actually I was pointed toward her by Real Burden. Real Burden is my co-creator on As of the Barbed. She draws that. I write that for Scout Comics. And we're bringing it to Kickstarter in a hardcover later on this year. Rio sent me this artist's Twitter, and she said something to the effect of, "I cannot believe how flawless her rendering of skin is." And I was like, "All right, let me check it out." And I did, because people send me artists all the time, but this one I was like, "Oh, have to do it, have to hire her." So right now we did this print together. We're going to be doing a cover for a different series that's coming, I believe. When is it? It's a one shot coming in April or May, and she's also doing an Exotica exclusive cover for us for a different title, which is going to be on Kickstarter for 1 week in November, and you'll be able to get it at either the Jersey Exotica or the DC Exotica in person.
You got a lot of stuff coming. You got a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah. I mean, my overall thought is that I want Space Between to function as a publisher would in the direct market, but on Kickstarter, on Etsy, at conventions. I want to build a community here. I have my team backing me. I'm very inspired by the Zenescope model, the Coffin Comics model. I want this to be a movement. I want people to be excited when we launch. I want multiple imprints, people sort of running their own labels under the overall company. I think that we could do big things.
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting. And I think that there's a bunch of different companies starting to do that model. I think that I'm going to mention another name that also I think has taken the Zenescope model. I think it's Merck. I think Merck has very much taken that model. They've taken certain, traits from Zenescope and they've done very well with it.
I love Merck. I'm writing something for Merck tonight.
And so I think they're doing something very, very interesting. I think, they have, certain, I mean, they got a lot of covers that come out and they hire a lot of artists.
Yeah.
They do a lot of cool stuff. And then I know Sean, I think has another label outside of Merck, I believe. I could be mistaken. Again, I'm not as familiar with Merck magazine as I am with Zenescope. I love Born of Blood. I think Dolan does a good job with that. I like it more than Miss Meow or Death Rage. It's just more like I like that Sparta stuff. That's just my jam. I'm sorry, everybody.
Gotcha.
It's nothing against Jamie Tyndall. It's nothing against Jamie Tyndall. Jamie Tyndall's arguably the best character drawer ever in the history of comics.
Jamie's the man. Jamie is the man. I would put Bad Bug in the conversation too, as far as companies that sort of tie into the Coffin Comics and Zenescope model.
Yeah, Mike's been on a bunch of shows. I think he's been in 3 or 4 interviews.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's got a lot of stuff going on as well. Very interesting in what they do as well. So and who they even hire. I mean, just even looking at that. I mean, if you're looking for artists and even just artist types, I mean, those 4 companies really do a great job at that. But yeah, so that's everything. I mean, you just mentioned even just being at weird cons too. And you mentioned earlier before, if you're doing a pet book, it does make sense to be at a pet book and
That's
con.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Matt Knowles does this, I think, very well. He's coming on tomorrow night, where I think he does like music festivals and other stuff. And I think he has, his book is related to heavy metal. And I think it's smart because at this stage, you want to be where your customers are at. And I think people have forgotten what marketing is. So quickly before I go into, go any further, there's cold, there's warm, and then there's red hot. If you have an exotic book and it's not safe for work, going to Exotica is very hot as far as your audience. If you bring that book to a traditional Comic-Con, you might be warm. And if you bring that to a anti-porn convention, you're going to be dead cold.
Anti-porn convention, yeah, that wouldn't work out.
I just want everybody to be on the same page. So
no, it's true. I mean, I've noticed. I mean, of course, at Exotica, that's where a book like Thirsty sells because of this. I did a convention this past weekend. I did Happy Valley Comic Con. I'm not gonna. I have Thirsty there, but I'm not gonna do what I do at Exotica. At Exotica, we take a copy of Thirsty, we crack it open, and we have it visually open for the interiors to be seen on the table. At Happy Valley, that can't happen.
You don't want to do that either because you don't want, and correct me if I'm wrong, the last thing you want to do is that if a con is happy in its name, I hate to say this, chances are it has sort of a PG-13 vibe to it, right?
Sure, yeah.
You don't want to expose an audience unknowingly to something because that's 100%. A bad idea.
100%. I mean,
collectively.
To me, any convention that isn't explicitly a con like Exotica or has like an After Dark in the title, any con that isn't like that should be seen as PG-13. Of course, you can sell whatever, but you can't show that. That's why at New York Comic Con, when Zenescope does their Z-rated covers, that they don't outright show it. You have to purchase it, because they know better. And of course they do. I'd say any professional publisher would know better than to just show not safe for work material on a convention floor to the mass public.
Yeah, and I think also it's the idea that you should ask for it, and it's more of an in the know thing as well. At that point, I think if you're brand new to Zenescope, I do not think them introducing you to a Z cover is the best move to get you into their company. Just on a business level, I think you should ease somebody in.
Yeah,
with some Raven Gregory to start with.
That's a harsh start. But
no. Ease somebody in with Wonderland, like the original trilogy of Wonderland. They're hooked. They're going to be hooked for life, and then they should be Godstorm after.
Well, thank you very much. Here's what I think too. I wouldn't have started my company. I wouldn't have launched Space Between with Thirsty. I launched with Destiny New York because people could see how I write characters. And I mean, the same exact reason we wouldn't have launched with Clonsters or Spooky Girls. Those are books that are geared toward a specific audience, whereas we have books that are for more the general teen and up / adult audience, like Destiny New York, Prison Witch. That's more of a general launch. I think that launching specifically with either just for kids or just for adults kind of sets the tone for who you're going to be. When I want my company to be everything,
Yeah, this is something that I'm figuring out, and eventually I'm going to write a comic. I got enough on my plate, as obviously I sort of mentioned. I'm recovering from a surgery, so the next 5 weeks for me is focusing on that, and then eventually I'm going to figure out what I want to do, even if I want to be in this space, to be honest, because there's a lot of questions going on, and I have a pretty good life right now, and do I really have the itch to write comics at the moment? And that because comics are always going to be there. But anyway, that's something that obviously I struggle with. And then when I launched the entire show almost 9 years ago, I said, what do I want to be? And I said, I want to be a pop culture show. I don't want to be a comic show. Okay. And I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made because it gives me a lot of flexibility on who I can have on. And also, no offense, when I get sick of comic people, I go to voice actors, I go to wrestlers, I go to cosplayers, and it makes me a better interviewer because I'm dealing with not one sector. And I hate to say this, but sometimes a comic person moves the needle, and sometimes a voice actor moves the needle.
Of course,
They,
yeah.
they help each other out tremendously. And I would imagine that Cheeky, Thirsty, and Steamy sometimes move the needle, and Destiny New York moves the needle, or they move needles for different groups.
Correct. And for me, it's all about figuring out how to, do what works and market toward what works while also still doing the exact book that I want to be doing. For example, I would love to do more Clonsters. I would love to do more Spooky Girls. And now books like Thirsty, Cheeky, and Steamy, even though they're so different, obviously, the fact that they overfund is going to enable us to do more books that are not going to perform well on Kickstarter, but might perform well at a convention.
You're mentioning something so interesting because this goes back to the Logan Paul thing. Sometimes you have to do what's best for business. Like, I'll be very honest, I sell Zenescope books. I know that I could get a 3 to 4x on a Zenescope book, but if I sell a Zenescope book and I sell it and I bought for 20, sell for 80, I can then go buy a retail package of somebody on Kickstarter, and I can maybe only make, if I bought a base price at $350, I could sell those books for $10, make $2 on that. But now I supported somebody on that because the Zenescope purchase covered my ability to do X.
100%.
I helped, and that's what I think people don't understand, is that sometimes I have to do what's best for business. And it sounds weird, but if you do 150,000 on Steamy, all of a sudden you might be able to take 20,000 of that and throw it at something else, and then now you can lower that goal. And if you only do 8 to maybe 15,000, you're still covered, knowing that then you can bring it to cons and get break even or do better than break even.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's sort of just also understanding how certain things work on platforms. Like, I've spoken before too about how if I want to do everything, like I said, and I do, I want to do all ages, young adult, general audiences, adults only. I have ideas for all types of stories. Now, just because all ages books don't work well on Kickstarter, that shouldn't mean that I don't do them, because they work well at conventions. So I have to kind of lean into the books that do well on Kickstarter first to get the capital to produce the other books. And then later on in the future, long term, I can make the money back when I actually do produce the all ages content.
Yeah, I think I think one of the biggest falls on indie comics in particular is the lack of business sense. And I think I don't know how to solve that problem. I am not the guy to solve that problem. I understand where I don't understand, indie comics business or comic business, but I understand how to buy and sell books, and I have a pretty good idea. I think, I understand the overall idea of it. I don't understand the particulars of comics and business, but I have ideas for everybody if you want them. Not that hard to find. But I think you're really figuring out what to do and how to create a product that people want to buy, and also providing options, because not everybody wants to read a romance not safe for work book, and not everybody wants to buy that. I mean, if you have a 5-year-old in your house, maybe you don't have a problem with it, but maybe you don't want that book hanging out in your house so quickly.
Yeah, throw it in the poly bag. Yeah. What I've noticed this, because I kind of pull in my Destiny New York audience by offering a free Destiny New York trading card with every campaign, and you have to get the campaign to do it. But I've started to just also create a tier where you can get just the card, because people were asking, because they don't want everything. Some do. Some want everything that I write. Some are going to want everything that any creator that they love writes. But sometimes we'll hit a genre or a topic that people aren't going to be interested in. So I want to be able to facilitate still them getting everything that they want from me, while also stretching the bounds of what I do.
Let's actually talk about what you just mentioned, the trading card, because trading cards are bigger than ever.
Oh yeah.
There's more money in it than there's ever been. There's an article that came out yesterday for National International Pokemon Day. I don't know if you saw the article. It's relating to the New York Giants. A ex player on the Giants has created a $5 million plus business by buying and selling Pokemon cards.
Oh, I bet.
And so what he does is that he opens up like 1,000 packs a day of Pokemon cards and sells them, which is ludicrous.
I mean,
Says,
I open a lot too. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. It's fun.
and
It's fun.
he buys and sells them. And so
Yeah.
he's brought in a lot of money on it. And obviously, I know you're a Pokemon fan. I'm a Pokemon fan. It's not that hard to know why, but I love Pokemon. It's great. So the whole thing is that, there are people though who really like trading cards. And there are people who say, look, I don't give a damn about the book, but I really like what you've done with these trading cards. I collect them. I have a few myself. I might not be able to show some of them. I think I'm gonna purposely. Yeah, I could show these. These are fine. The one from Exoticon, I do not want to show. I don't think it's a good idea. You know the one. You know the one.
Yeah, of course.
But there are people who really like that. So what is that like? Because you're targeting like a sub niche of a sub niche now.
Well, it could be, but it also could be a lot broader than comics, because while trading cards do well, comics is struggling, So I want right now, obviously, the people who are getting the Destiny New York promo cards are fans of the series. My goal is to create Destiny New York trading card game as something new, as something that people can go to without knowing the comic yet, that has been a plan of mine for a long time. Working on the trading card game with a team, and we're going to be launching decks later on this year, and it's going to be a trading card game that really leans into competitive gameplay, storytelling, so that if you get the graphic novels, great experience, very whole experience. If you don't, every bit is whole. Just you see a bit more of the characters if you read the books, of course. But
So let's go into this. And I got you a backer with Destiny New York where you want a prison witch. Because one of the things that's interesting, and I'm not going to say who it is, but he actually backed the trading card because it was the lowest tier, and he didn't want Destiny New York, but he wanted Prison Witch, and so he added all three on as an add-on.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing too, is that somebody might say, look, I know you have a big add-on thing. I know a lot of people are doing that now too. And I think that's also interesting. I know that's not your intention. That's just a byproduct of it. Right. But, sometimes, somebody says, look, I have everything you're offering on this, but I know that I'm missing certain things in my backlog. And so they just want an early entry point into it for $6 or $8, and then they're going to add on whatever they want to get into the backlog. And that's something that people I know do as well. And I've seen it not on just your campaigns, but a few others. And I think it's smart. I think it's smart, and I think it's clever. Because anytime I know that I need X and I can only get it in the back care kit thing, there you go. So
100%. Oh, yeah.
But but it's really interesting too, because you mentioned the trading card game, and I think now you're going into diversification, and obviously you're bringing out an adult line. You have all these other things. You have a kids line, and you're going to probably wind up having a few imprints. But I think diversification is the key. I mean, I am a diversified investor where I'm into equity and stocks. I'm into bonds. I'm into crypto. I'm into some other stuff as well. And obviously I'm into collectibles. I have baseball cards, Pokemon cards, you name it, Pop Funkos, all sorts of cool stuff. Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I sell on eBay, and I diversify my merch. Big Dog Ink, Merc Magazine, Zenescope, some, key classics, stuff like that. And so what is this like for you and your company to provide diversity? Because I think you mentioned something that trading cards are doing really, really well, and comics are having a hard time. And I hate to foreshadow something or even say something that might be taken out of context, but there could get to a point where the trading card game trumps certain comics on Kickstarter that you do. Not because
that's what I want. Yeah, I mean, I want every project to go to the highest extent that it can. And the fact of the matter is that the game's sphere on Kickstarter is gigantic. So I do picture it doing well. I wanted it to do well. I wouldn't be hurt at all if the trading card game outperformed the graphic novels.
I'm not saying for you to be hurt. I'm saying that, let's say that it's a weird year, right? And that's the thing that keeps the company alive and keeps it growing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, because
Of course,
that
of course.
means that you have another thing that's working correctly, and you have a component, because I have purposely built out components in what I do for myself and how I invest, that when one thing is failing, another thing's working, but we're continuously moving forward. And I
Right.
think that's something that is so smart that you're doing,
Thank you very much.
whether you realize it or not, because I've
I
seen
realize.
you going to be in 5 years, and I'm realizing that you're creating schmuck insurance, as I like to call it.
Oh, I mean, I think about it all the time. It's definitely on purpose. I have looked into not only just trading cards, but I'm looking into an adult only sort of couples romance card game. I'm looking into stuffed animals for my Afterglow line. I'm looking into it all. I have lines for pins that I'm doing that are tied to an IP, but they have more general appeal. I had this one pin. I don't know if I have it here to show. I created it for my series. Yeah, here it is. This is a small version. I'm going to print a very large version soon.
Make you full screen. I'll make you full screen.
Okay. It says regular is not a size. It is a coffee cup from Destiny, New York, the green bean. And
as soon as I
it's okay. This is something that I sell on my Etsy. It's kind of hard to focus with my face in there. There we go.
Yeah, you're full screen.
Yeah. So yeah, that pin did very well for me because baristas found it. And baristas were buying this regular is not a size and putting it on their visor. So putting it on the visor, the apron, and it was a big seller for me. So now I'm looking into doing more merch that doesn't just lean only into an IP, but that captures the essence of a Destiny or a Gangster Barista while also having broader appeal. So people can just buy the pin and enjoy the pin, even if they don't know the book.
Yeah, no, it's something that obviously, and I don't do a good job with it, but I have a T-shirt that's a funny T-shirt, and I need to market it more. But the whole point of it is that it has somewhat interesting anime appeal. I'm making fun of Taco Bell, Gundam, and the most interesting man in the world, and Amuro Ray, and a bunch of fun stuff. The joke is that the good guys in Char's counterattack are Londo Bell. So I have Amuro Ray eating a taco saying, I don't always eat tacos, but when I do, I eat at Londo Bell. Because instead of Taco Bell, it's Londo Bell, guys. Funny shirt. It's clever. But I need to market it more. But the idea is that it was supposed to be that you see it and you get the joke immediately, which I think is you sort of do because it rhymes and it looks that way. But anyway, I think that's smart. I think because at the end of the day, while this comics are fun, you do need to make money. And I hate to sound mean about it, but a lot of people in comics don't make money.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
It's complicated. There's so many broke creators. I'm sorry. I don't want them to be broke. I want you guys to all be successful. Yeah. And I want you to break even. I want everybody to break even to start. And I want then people to get beyond breaking even. And not everybody can quit their day job doing this. But I don't want people to lose like $1,000 and have to take it out of their, retirement or not have a retirement or things like that. I want people to be successful. I do.
Yeah. I want everyone to do as well as they possibly can. And that's part of the reason why I, give free advice online all the time. I always give free Kickstarter advice as well as work for hire advice. And it's also why I run a business. I wouldn't run any business that I wasn't interested in being part of. I've gotten a lot of offers to take part in certain business plans in comics that I wasn't really a fan of, but I have my own business called What's Wrong with Your Kickstarter, where I will assess your Kickstarter or even build it for you because I want everyone to do well. And right now, the clients that I've had so far have done amazingly well, and I hope to see that continue. And I know it will.
Yeah, I'm working on my own business, and it's called Let's Get You Rich. But no. The point of the business is that I teach asset allocation and perpetuity building machines. So I focus on basically finding people assets and building them small businesses that basically are automated and run themselves that produce you a distribution every single month, year, quarterly, or however you want to set it up. And then I tell you where to put that so that it pays you monthly.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I did it with stocks. I just today did it with bonds. It's working with crypto in my portfolio. And I'm working on that side with real estate this year, which is crazy. So if you have and you want that, I can definitely help you out, and I'm not that expensive because again, it's going to take me about 2 hours to explain it to you. And if you want me to build you a plan, everybody, I could do that too. But anyway, whether you follow the plan or not, that's up to you guys, which is, I would imagine, your entire thing with your business is that you could give people advice, you could build it for them, but if they don't follow the plan, there's only so much you can do, right, Pat?
I put that warning in my agreement because the fact of the matter is, especially because it's a creative thing, I'm going to give you my advice. And if you don't want it, you don't even have to tell me I'm not taking this. Just hear me out. I'm going to tell you what I perceive is your best move in any given circumstance on Kickstarter or on any platform. If you're on Zoop, if you're on Crowdfunder, if you're on Indiegogo, respect to all those platforms. My number one advice is go on Kickstarter instead, but I am always going to just give you my take. And if you don't take it, I've still done what I'm here to do, and that's give you my feedback.
No, I think it's needed, and I think it can be massively beneficial. And I also think that and I'll just say this, and I'm not being paid to say it. You've done enough of this that you know what you're talking about. I hate to say this, and I think you know who I'm talking about, or there might be 2 or 3 people that I'm talking about. There's a lot of predatory people in this sector who have no fucking idea what they're talking about. I think you would agree with me on that on Kickstarter help.
I think that anyone who launches a Kickstarter knows that when you launch, you will be inundated with messages of people asking you if they can be paid to market for you. And those ones, the spammers, get out of here, dude. Never go for that. Go for fellow creators. I wouldn't even go for people who are professional marketers, because if their follower count isn't up and what they do is marketing, what does that say about their marketing skills? I think that going with proven fellow creators is the way to go. I would
there's one that everybody knows. There's one that everybody knows that's a little sketchy, but we don't have to mention names.
I mean, honestly, I can't even think of it right now. But I was just going to say, on a positive note, that there are people out there, like, for example, Charlie Stickney right now. Charlie Stickney, you can learn more from just reading his Kickstarter campaign than you can learn from any of these third-party, not really doing their own Kickstarter platform people. Just read what the successful creators do, and if you want more, come to someone like me. Come to someone who is also on the platform and is offering these kind of services.
And also, if you ask somebody a very basic question, such as Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and even you just throw it out as a poll, and when you go to 10 creators and ask them what they think, you're going to get some good feedback on that. And I'm sure that, if you're around in the groups and, when I ask, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know enough creators that I'm going to pull a bunch of people saying, hey, what do you think I should do? And also going to say, hey, what do you think my goal should be? And I'm going to be asking, I'm hoping that I'm going to get, a bunch of feedback, and that's going to give me some ideas. And so there's no such thing as a stupid question if it's a basic question.
Yeah.
And then I'm more likely people will want to help you if you're not an asshole, is all I'm going to say.
Hopefully.
It pays not to be an asshole. It really does.
Yeah.
But I do want to also show this. We did mention the card. I think this is out there.
Yes, that is our Destiny New York trading card game promo card for Steamy. This time there's no alternate art. We're going to show some fun things in the stretch goals. That one is just guaranteed to everyone who does a physical pledge to Steamy. You will get the card for free. If you are a Destiny New York trading card game collector and you just want the card, you can also just get the card.
Yeah, and then you got a bunch of other stuff. Obviously, I think your Dreams campaign is done, which featured a bunch of cool stuff, and it was reshooting out, I think, something of Destiny New York in color. I think it shot out. What else did it shoot out? Wow, I think it shot out Afterglow, I want to say.
Yes, it had short stories from the worlds of Destiny New York, Smoke We See the Future, and Afterglow. And now every year I'm going to start the year with an annual issue that takes a space between property and does a short full color story in that world.
And so you did very well, because I think that was your first single issue, which is very nerve-wracking, I would imagine.
Yeah. First single issue on Kickstarter that I've ever done. Um, uh, I can't wait. I'm sending it to print. It was the files were sent last week, paying for it today. Those ship pretty quick. I cannot wait for it. I'm so excited. First ever metal cover that wasn't, I mean, I've gotten a metal cover through Scout, and I was just given a copy. I saw it in person once at Comic Con because my own copy, but this is my shit. I'm paying for the two metals, some virgin covers, beautiful variant covers. I'm giving it the full treatment. I cannot wait for it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know you don't like to dox your backers here,
I can't.
but I know you can't dox your backers here. But there was a horrible backer who took that last early bird Ivan Tao special, and I think that backer should be absolutely doxed.
Well, thank you very much.
No, I was happy to.
I appreciate it.
Obviously, you knew where I was going with this. Hopefully,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, which is very cool, and you got a lot of cool people coming out, and then obviously you got a lot of stuff coming out. Obviously, I think the Destiny New York Volume 6 thing is on track.
Oh yeah.
September, October, I think, or is it November? I forget which.
It's supposed to ship, I think, maybe in August or September, but I always hope before. Now that we moved to Canada, I always hope to go early. Because the earlier we can go, the sooner that we can launch.
Yeah, because it's just something that's out there, and then obviously, I mean, you're going to be doing Volume 7, and then so on and so forth, and a lot of cool stuff with that, and then obviously you got a bunch of other stuff going out, and you do a lot of projects back to back, so there's always something going on with you.
Yeah, and now that two things. Now that I'm shipping out of Canada instead of, well, I should clarify for backers. I'm not shipping out of Canada. I'm printing out of Canada, and they're shipping the books to me, and I'm shipping from here, which is, I cannot tell you how much quicker we receive Cheeky than Thirsty.
So let's back up one second,
sure.
because I think there's a piece missing, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think you were printing overseas, right, before.
Correct. I was printing in Taiwan, yes.
And the reason why I bring this up is that for those who don't know, I'll explain shipping because I actually found this out. It's so interesting. It's like one of the most fascinating. I wound up watching like a 9-hour documentary on it. There were big container component issues, and there were issues where they couldn't find boats. It wasn't even so much printing; it was finding containers and boats. Because there was trade issues where when you ship a container over to the U.S., typically a container would be filled and shipped back. But if they don't have anything to put into that container, they're not going to send that container back so quickly until it's filled up. And this is the whole issue with shipping. And so that's what was going on. And then now all of a sudden, all these containers come in and there's a lack of boats.
100%. Thirsty was notably stuck at port for 2 months. Long time. Whereas Cheeky itself, the entire printing process took less than 2 months. I mean, you can't beat that, So with me now printing out of Canada, and I'm printing single issues in Florida, so that means that my shipping is going to be that much quicker. Prison Witch is already off to print. That should be on the way to me in the next maybe month and a half, depending on how long that takes there in Canada. And Cerulean Dreams, I believe it takes 3 to 4 weeks to print a single issue here. So it's all going to be much quicker. I'm doing more single issues too. So this year is a game changer. In the past, I used to commission 10 pages because that's all I could pay for, fund the graphic novel, and then produce it and then ship it, which is why my delivery dates have been a year off from the launch date, and that doesn't have to be anymore. Now things are changing.
No, it's very interesting. And obviously it's going to be fascinating. And when I do my thing, I don't know where I'm going to do it, who I'm going to do it with, but my idea is coming soon. And people are going to love me or they're going to hate me when I do it. And they're going to hate me and love me for all the wrong and right reasons. So I look forward to that. Hopefully I will get more hate than my last Kickstarter. I will take great pride in that. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the stress.
Well, I hope you get some love too.
I think people will appreciate it. I think people will appreciate it, and I'm actually putting a lot of thought into it. It's some of my best work.
Good. That's
that I've
great.
done in a while.
Awesome.
It's just a matter of when I want to do it, because when I want to put it all together and get stuff really done with it, because obviously I'm dealing with a real problem in my life at the moment. But anyway, I digress. And then the final thing I want to mention before we get to the fun thing that I want to do with you, because you have a game with Zenescope and I want to compete. I want to compete and I want to win. And then my game is going to be fun. Because you're going to be thoroughly impressed and happy with this game, but it's going to make you make hard decisions that may or may not alter your life.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
But you do have an autograph card now instead of the book.
Don't show it. Don't show it. Don't show it.
I don't have that. I don't have that.
Okay.
That's not the game changer.
Okay.
I have other things to show.
Okay, that's the one thing. That's the only thing from the campaign that I should have told you. The autograph card we can't show yet, but the rest we can.
So you have that, and that's really, really interesting. Because there's a collector's element to it. It's kind of cooler. No offense. Its book plates are kind of lame, I feel, at this point.
Bro, I hate making book plates. I hate it.
I'm sorry to like attack your nice campaign here, but a book plate's like, it's a book plate. Autograph card. It's like,
that's what I think too. Yeah.
But yeah, so you got that going on. And then obviously, if you want something, there's a whole backlog of everything from, space.
Yes.
So if you want something and, you didn't get it and you want like volume 3 of Destiny New York, you could probably add it on in this campaign.
100%. Yeah, everything that you could possibly get from a previous Kickstarter is here. If there's a merch item, it's not listed as an add-on, but you can just reach out to me,
Yeah, and then obviously, sometimes these things sell out and, well, you're out of luck. But for the most part, if you want like 1 through 5 of Destiny New York, that's pretty obtainable on this campaign, along with if you're just saying, hey, look, I know nothing about it. I read this, I picked it up, I saw it in Black Mask, and boy, I just want everything digital. You got that too. So that's very cool too, because sometimes people say, look, I don't have room for this shit. But I digress. But I do want to play the game. I want to play my game with you. It's going to be a fun game.
Let's do it.
You're going to have 3 tough choices to make.
I'll make them all.
You're going to have to make them. And you're going to have to make sacrifices here. I hope you're ready for it. Are you prepared?
I am.
So we're playing Buy, Sell, Burn. Item 1. You can see item 1, right?
Sure can. That's Nessa from Vivid Voltage.
Yes, 9.5 CGC graded card.
Okay.
Great. We have this right here.
Okay.
Who the writer is. It's complicated. I bought this on January 10th, a very important day. Arguably the most important day for one of us in the room here.
Okay.
And then we got item 3, which did not arrive yet, but I have a picture of it.
Okay. Oh, wow. Is that an Alexis Texas trading card?
It's number 28, and it's a tobacco trading card.
Okay.
I told you, these are going to be tough choices.
So my options are what now?
Buy, sell, burn.
Okay.
So you have to buy one of them, you have to sell the other, and you have to burn the third.
I already know it. So the gangster as barista, I'm going to sell that because I already do. That's the easy one. I will sell that. I don't love graded cards. I love a raw card. I actually have that card in my Vivid Voltage binder. But I'll still buy it. There's always room for a full art trainer at 9.5, that will enrich in value over time. And the reason that I'm going to burn the Alexis Texas collectible is because I have already spent enough money on Alexis Texas.
That was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, bro.
Not what I was expecting.
She looked at the menu, and I asked her what champagne she wanted, and her choice was a bit high on the menu for my liking.
Oh, no, that's that. I was expecting that story. I was expecting you to definitely buy the Alexa Texas card.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, shout out to Alexis, great girl. Gotta burn the card though.
Absolutely. I told you this game was going to be tough decisions.
Yeah.
I told you it was going to be tough decisions. Yeah. But that's pretty much every question I have for you for
Cool.
today, but I do want to give you a chance to self-promote yourself. Obviously, I am a little bit shocked at your answers. Flabbergasted. Absolutely. I thought it was going to go in the opposite way. I totally thought you were going to sell the comic. I knew that.
Yes.
I thought you were going to keep the Alexis Texas card.
Yeah.
I feel really bad because I actually bought 2 and I'm going to send you one.
No, here's the thing though. I like Alexis, but it was more just a vehicle for the bit about her buying the highly priced champagne, but no, I'll literally take the card. There wasn't an option to get 2 of them, so like if I could, I would have gotten the Nessa and the Alexis, but when it comes down to
it would
I
have
have to look
defeated
out.
the game, man. It would have defeated the game. I mean, I couldn't do, marry
That's what I'm saying, bro. But yeah, as far as my promos, I have Steamy goes live on Kickstarter Monday, March 6th, 10 a.m. Eastern. Right now, it is up for pre-launch. The pre-launch link is tinyurl.com/steamycomic. Covers by Stepan Sejic, Jen St. Ange, Romina Morinelli, and what is not on the Kickstarter yet, not revealed, is our stretch goal add-on, which is by Lyrics. When we hit our stretch goals, we will add on an add-on only Lyrics cover, which is going to be great. Our first Lyrics from Cheeky, did beautifully. Beautiful cover too. I actually have it downstairs. Seeing how his art looks with the spot gloss over that smooth matte, incredible. So yeah, everyone please check it out. Going live in less than a week. I absolutely cannot wait.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna keep saying it. I've been saying it for a while. You have to support what you love, and you have to support indie comics, mainstream comics. I don't know any other categorization of comics, but if you like what you see in comics, if it's on Kickstarter, you need to back the Kickstarter. Whether you're backing it at $6 just for a trading card, or you're backing a $500 goal, or somewhere in between, obviously you do need to back those campaigns because this is how things get funded. And it does make a difference. And if you want things to get funded and you want to see more content of that, you need to back it. And if you want to see it get made faster, well, you need to back it. It is a game changer, and that is very important. Furthermore, you need to share. So obviously tweeting it out, Facebook shares, Instagram shares, mentioning it, interviews, things of that nature. Just telling somebody, hey, did you see it's up there? In case you missed something to somebody, because I've done that to people. And people are like, yo, man, I love this person's work. And I'm like, dude, I didn't even see this. And there's 6 days left. So that's happened with a bunch of people. And a bunch of people have actually seen interviews that I've done say, oh, snap, he's at a Kickstarter out there. I didn't even see it. So you need to actually support, and both backing physically as well as on social media and the internet. So please go do that. It makes a big difference. Also, you should follow people on social media because that also helps as well, if I didn't already mention that. As far as I'm concerned, everything that I got going on, obviously Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Check that out. Pop Anime Comics Collectibles on eBay. I got some really cool stuff coming in June that I cannot talk about, but I am getting my first trading card exclusive for my eBay store. Super cool. Super cool. There's only 25 of them in the world, and it's mine. So if you want to buy it, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And it's done by a really cool artist. So very cool in that regard, as well as I do have my ad rates up there. So if you would like to advertise on this show, you can definitely check that out. If not, totally no worries. Got a lot of fun stuff coming out on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and got a whole bunch of cool guests coming in the next 2-3 months. So yeah, that's everything I got. And be on the lookout for what I got going on in comics maybe later this year, because I think people are going to be very, very upset with me. And they're going to be upset with me and be like, fuck, I didn't think of that. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's everything I got. So on that note, I'm going to let you have the final word.
Steamy, Monday, March 6th, 10 a.m. Eastern. Let's do it.
That's perfect, everybody. And that is a wrap.